Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. I'm Emily Crossley, co-founder of Duchenne UK and mum to Eli with Duchenne, and I'm also joined on the line by Alex Crossley, co-founder of Duchenne UK, founder of Joining Jack and mum to Jack. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to this webinar this afternoon. It's not easy to find the time with the return of homeschooling and juggling that with work and lockdown, and we really appreciate you joining us. In fact, I'm not sure what's going to break me first, Duchenne or homeschooling. I know Alex and I are struggling to juggle charity work with all of what's going on. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank our team at Duchenne UK. We run an incredibly tight ship, as many of you know, and they've all gone above and beyond to keep Duchenne UK working so hard for our community in such challenging times. So thank you, everyone. So when we started this series, we planned on hosting one webinar a week, but this week we're hosting our second because we really want to be able to offer you support and address some of the challenges that you're facing in this particular period. So today, backed by popular demand, we're bringing you a webinar on physiotherapy and how to stay active and exercise during lockdown. We're very pleased to be joined by Robert Muni Lofra from the Walton Muscular Dystrophy Research Centre in Newcastle. Robert's kindly prepared a series of slides, but do feel free to ask questions as we go using the Q&A button in the Zoom toolbar, and we'll try to answer as many of your questions as we can, but we will leave the questions until the end. Robert, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to hand over to you for your presentation, and you're not actually talking to us from Newcastle, are you?
No, I'm actually in Barcelona, where my family comes from and I come from, and I've been stuck here for a few weeks now. So working remotely, as many of you, having the usual challenges dealing with children and working remotely.
Well, we really appreciate your time and we hope you're staying safe and well there. And again, thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge and expertise with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure, and thanks for having me. And please, as Emily said, please feel free to make any questions if anything is not clear. Please feel free to reach me at any point. So when we think about these days, I think that probably one of the most challenging times is, shifting our minds into the current situation. So my main advice when we're thinking about these days would be as simple and as complex as to stay active. And today what I would like to do is give you a few tips to accomplish these objectives. The first thing that you all need to bear in mind, and this is not Duchenne related, this is for everybody, is that we are under different circumstances. We've got limited access to outdoors. The circumstances are different in many ways. So the first advice that I would like to give you all is to reset your expectations. It's not normal time. It's not our, regular time when children go to school, we go back home, we're able to achieve certain routines. This is not the case, so we should reset our expectations. If you are used to do a certain number of steps, if you are used to do certain activities, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. And by trying to reach that normality, you're only gonna stress yourself. So reshape your expectations. That's the starting point. The second point is try to track your activity. If you were already doing it, just again go back to the previous point and reshape your expectations. But if you weren't doing it, start tracking your activity, and you can do this through an app in your phone. You can acquire watches and smart watches and things, but it could be as easy, or even counting a bit the minutes that you walk around the house, or you are a bit more active in the house. There's many options, but today I would like to recommend this one. Sweatcoin is one app that will literally pay you for doing steps in the house, and you can use it in your app, in your phone, and will translate into sweat coins each step that you do in the house, and you can exchange those coins for different products, and you can have a little browse there. But as I said, there's many of them. And the other challenge that you potentially all agree is that we've got limited space and limited time to try to stay active. And Today, I would like to give you a suggestion of what could be a potential solution for these challenges in terms of space and time. Today, I would like to talk to you about what it's called high intensity interval training. This is a type of training that was initially developed for professional athletes that were struggling to increase their endurance capacity and in the traditional training methods. But then afterwards was soon realized that there was very useful for many conditions, was started to be used for people with cardiac problems, and is a very interesting way of achieving the same targets with a wide range of capabilities and in a, as I said, limited space and limited time. What it's all about is basically putting together an alternative, a set of exercise that you will alternate in between one type of exercise that it's easier, that you normally do a slower pace, and another set of different exercises that are slightly harder and that you try to do it as fast as you can. And it basically looks like this. So you'll be training for a certain amount of time, and you will be working at slow pace and for a certain amount of time, and for a short period of time working a faster pace for more difficult activities, and then you go back and up and down and up and down. And this way you'll be challenging your breathing and your heart rate in a slightly different way, mimicking other types of training. Equipment, you would only need a stopwatch or some sort of watch to try to control a bit the time that you spend in each activity. And if you have a bit of a space in your living room, you don't need much space to do these kind of activities. How this is going to work? Basically, the first step will be to list about 10 activities. And I would suggest you to even use Post-its to write which is one of them. And you need to find 10 activities that you would struggle to do for more than 15 repetitions without the rest. Just think out a bit out of the box. Just think on certain things that you might do on a regular basis, but only once. Putting a t-shirt on, brushing your hair, leaning forward to reach something on the floor in your wheelchair, lifting your arms up to reach something at your side. There's many things that we all do every day, but probably just only once. And if you can think of any, probably a game that I would suggest is anything that you do, just say, okay, let's see how many times I can do this in a row without a rest. If I can do it 2 times, probably that's a too hard activity for this plan. 5 times as well. If we are moving in between 10, 15 times, that's what we would like to look for. If you write down all these activities and you make your list, the more activities you have, the more, let's say, wider variety of exercises you can include in your training plan. These will be your fast-paced exercise, and you put these ones aside. Step number 2, more or less the same idea, but now think of an activity that you can do for a bit longer, 2 or 3 minutes, sitting in your chair, swinging your arms at your side, lifting your arms to the side, maybe just walking on the step on the spot, holding into a table or something like this. It depends. There's many options, and the idea behind it is that maybe you can recall one of those previous activities that you can do for 20, 30 times, and this could be one of the options. But the idea is that it's an activity and can be just 1 or 2 at this point, But it's important, what you're aiming here is to move as many muscles as you can of your body. And these will be your slow pace exercises. Now that we've got the two components of the training plan, let's have a look on how these will look like. The idea is to fit, as I said, slow pace activities with fast pace activities. So we will start with 1.5 minutes of slow pace exercises, swinging your arms by your side, walking on the spot, whatever you've chosen to your slow pace exercise. Then you will move to 30 seconds and one of those activities that you can do for a shorter period of time, and try to do it in these 30 seconds as many times as you can, as fast as you can. And then we'll be back to the first activity. If you have two alternatives, you move to the other alternative. But it's absolutely fine if for a slow pace, you always do the same activity. And then 1.5 minutes again, second activity. 1.5 minutes again, third activity. 1.5 minutes again, and fourth activity. And you can do this successively up to 8 times. If you want to start with 6, is absolutely fine. If you want to build up to 8, is absolutely fine. But this is how the training will look like. Are we going to go straight into this? No, we will need to start first with a warm-up. And to do so, you can pick one of those fast activity exercises. You can pick 2 or 3 and try to do them slowly for a few times. And this will be your warm-up. Then you do the workout, as I've showed you previously in the previous slide. And then we have a cool down phase. After this, after all your muscles are warm up and nice and ready to be stretched, is the perfect time to fit your daily stretches. And for this, I would encourage you to visit the Duchenne UK website with exercise stretching routines reference there. You will have the link later on in this presentation if you don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure that you all know what I'm talking about. What is really important, it's really, really important that you do your best in your fast-paced exercises. Then you can pace yourself in the slow ones, but it's really, really important that you give your best, that you can fit as many repetitions as you can in those 30 seconds. And then you catch your breath and you do your slow pace exercises more easily. If possible, ideally, it'll be really good that you don't stop during the whole routine. Slow down your pace and try your best in your 30 seconds. It's all right if one day things seem easier than others. We all have good days and bad days, and not because yesterday I managed to put my t-shirt on 5 times in 30 seconds or 2 times in 30 seconds means that today is going to feel as easy. Just do your best every day, regardless if one day is 10 and the other one is 6. It doesn't really matter, because your heart and your lungs will be working at their best. How many times do we need to do this? Ideally, 3-4 times a week. You can start, as I said, doing 6 sets if it's easier, and then you can build it up to 10. And you should always feel recovered the day after you've done the exercise. It's all right to feel a bit more your arms, your legs, whatever you've been working more, but you should feel fully recovered the day after you've done the exercise. And most importantly, enjoy. Don't feel like this exercise is a punishment. It's a way to feel more energetic. It's a way to tire out a bit your body in these days and to have a better sleep. And just make your own pace and try to get the most out of it. What I would say is that if you fit some of your daily activities as your fast pace, will be a really good opportunity to see how those activities that you normally do become easier as you practice along with this type of plan. And I think that, Marianne, that's all that I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Robert. That was really useful and very helpful. And I suppose, you know, I'd always associated that sort of HIIT training with very hardcore athletes, you know, but it's really useful to hear that that approach can be used in our community and tailored to each individual child or person. And it seems to be quite an efficient use of time. So you're really maximizing the best, I guess you're maximizing the best exercise in the shortest amount of time. Is that true?
That's exactly the aim with this type of training. You maximize your time, but as well your space, because you don't need much equipment, and especially with this functional approach that I've been mentioning. So yeah.
Okay, well, that was really helpful. Thank you so much. And in fact, we don't have any questions on the exercises. I think it was so well explained and comprehensive. We did get a couple of questions earlier in the week about stretching. So I wondered if I could just ask you about these. The first question was for a boy who's starting to struggle getting up and tight heel cords. Are there any specific exercises or physiotherapy you would recommend, as well as the usual heel cord stretches?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the stretches, what we need to bear in mind is that stretches will help to ease up the tension on the muscles. If the heel cords, if the Achilles tendons are getting tight, the more we stretch, the better. But we all know that adding or prolonging the stretches, especially if it's parents doing the stretches on your sons, is hard work. So what I always tend to recommend is to try to include stretches or stretching positions, let's call it, into your daily routines. So if you do your stretches to your child, you can hold it 10, 15 seconds, and then you're going to give a little break, and then you're going to come back. And how many times would you do that? It's going to be 5 times, 10 times. If you think about the time that actually the stretch is going through the tendons and the muscles, is relatively short. And I think this links with the next question. But if you have a stretching board and your son brushes his teeth standing on the stretching board, and he's there for 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or is watching telly and in the stretching board, or is helping out in the kitchen on the stretching board. If you include this, we are talking about minutes of a stretch instead of seconds of a stretch. And this is the main benefit of using the stretching board, and I would say prolonging the stretches as much as you can. The use of the splint is something that aims into the same direction, prolonging the stretch to allow the muscle fibers and the tendons to build new units to really make a difference in the length of the tendon and the muscles.
Sorry, Robert, could you just clarify, just repeat what you said there about the stretching board, about minutes and seconds? Do you mean that each second on the stretching board is worth a minute of normal stretching? Or could you just clarify that for me? Sorry.
No. I wouldn't. I don't think there's scientific evidence to make a correlation on how many minutes. What I'm saying is that the longer you do the stretches, the better. Using the stretching board is on one hand, one way to potentially prolong the stretch by adding other activities to do whilst standing on the stretching board. And the second benefit of the stretching board is that the strength or the weight bearing is the resistance that we apply to the tendon. So any parent that is pushing or any physio that could do the stretches will put certain amount of strength through the tendons. But if you use the body weight, is probably the strongest stretch that you can put through your tendons. So
Okay. Right,
it's more a way to prolong the stretch and make it a better stretch more than anything else.
Yeah, okay, great. So I think we've been hearing a lot from families that they're struggling to find the time to do stretching. And I think the other thing for UK families is that if you're lucky enough to have a learning support assistant at school, then they often do the stretches for you during the week. I mean, what would be the ideal amount of times we should be doing physio stretching a day? Or is it, as you say, just to try and integrate it throughout the day into daily routine?
Mm-hmm. I think we can end up giving specific times, but there's no much evidence that I can tell that half an hour is clearly better than 15 minutes and worse than 45 minutes. The idea that I would like to throw here is that the more the better on one hand. And what is really important, and I tend to recommend this as a physiotherapist, is that you include the stretches in other activities, because it's the only way that little children will kind of deal with it. So standing on a stretching board is a really good day. Is a really good way, to include those stretches. And if they can do it for 5-10 minutes, is absolutely great. If they can do it after doing exercises, even better. But what will really make a difference on the tightness of the ankles will be using the AFOs, the splints, because it's by having the stretch prolonged for hours is when we're going to have a real difference on the length of the tendons and the muscles.
Okay, thank you, Robert. That's really helpful. Going on to the next slide, we have actually had a question in from someone asking, sometimes when my son does exercise, he goes red in the face. And they basically said, if they're doing the HIIT exercises and during the fast pace, are we trying to get the boys out of breath and show, signs of exertion like a red face? Is that what we're aiming for?
Yes, it's what we're aiming for. We, if you feel like the boys are managing those 30 seconds, but really getting out of breath, that's what we're aiming for. If they don't manage the 30 seconds because they get too much out of breath, it's not what we're aiming for. So they should be able to sustain the activity that we suggest for that fast pace for 30 seconds. If they can't do it for 30 seconds, that's a bit too much. So it's fine with red faces, it's fine to get out of breath, but they should be able to cope at least for those 30 seconds. Okay,
thank you, Robert. We have had a question that's come in asking, what is a stretching board? What does it look like and where can you get one? Perhaps if you could just explain what they are, and then maybe we could work with you to, I don't know whether you know of any recommended suppliers or manufacturers, but perhaps we could discuss that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the stretching board is a device that was originally designed for, again, athletes, and it's mainly designed for sports, and it was then used for rehab of Achilles tendon injuries. Is as simple as a board that you can adjust the inclination of the board, and you basically stand on it, and it provides you a nice stretch whilst using your weight through your feet. And you can easily find it in Amazon. There's one, can't remember the brand, but it basically is blue and white.
Oh, I think that one's called PhysioWorks.
PhysioWorks, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the one that we tend to recommend. You can buy it in Amazon, and just stick it in the bathroom and ask them to stand on it whilst they brush their teeth, whilst they potentially wash their face in the morning, and you can bring it to the kitchen, and whilst you, I'm pretty sure that all your children helps you with a wash out and do everything. But if you can think of anything that they can do standing on the stretching board, ideally you like to be something that they can hold themselves into the sink, into the bench in the kitchen, or whatever, because obviously it's difficult to maintain your balance in a stretching board. But if they can do any activity standing on that, it's absolutely perfect.
Okay. Well, Robert, that was absolutely fantastic. Just checking our questions, and we do actually have another couple of questions. Our physiotherapist has recommended a scooter board for our son who is 9 years old. Do you know much about these, and what would your views be on that, Robert, if you don't mind answering that?
Scooter board, yes.
Scooter board, yeah, I'm not really sure.
Might be a language thing, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll get clarity, and then we'll come back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay, Robert, that's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we hope you stay safe and well in Barcelona, and we hope to have you back with us in the UK sometime soon.
Hopefully in a couple of weeks, should be able to come back.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I do hope that you can come back as soon as possible. Just before you go, we had an idea, actually, if you could just flip on to the next slide, whether, I don't know whether you've heard about this in Spain, the 2.6 challenge that's been launched to save the UK charities. And it's trying to get involved with fundraising by doing any activity that you can think of for 26 or 2.6, whatever number. And we just thought it might be quite a nice idea to try and somehow integrate your HIIT workout with this challenge, so people could do a 2.6 minute workout or something like that. So we share this with people.
Let's cut it down to 26 seconds, the 30 seconds phase. I think that will be absolutely fine, and you can video yourself doing any set of this and share it in the social networks. I think that will be absolutely amazing. I'm entirely sure that 4 seconds difference will make a difference, and if you make it a 26 second challenge to do those fast-paced activities, I think will be great.
Okay, all right, well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much indeed. And if you would kindly just go on to the last slide for me, and we'll just finish off here. So Robert did mention that there's a link on our website in which he explains physiotherapy stretching, so do go to that if you would like. There are also these websites, which many of you have probably already seen by now, with up-to-date information from the government and NHS about coronavirus. If you have any questions that have arisen from today, or any new questions, then do please get in touch at support@DuchenneUK.org. We'll be hosting another webinar next Wednesday, so please make sure you register for that. And in the coming weeks, we'll be covering issues such as nutrition and homeschooling for DMD. We hope you're staying safe and well during these times. Thank you so much for listening, and please do stay safe and stick to the government advice. This is a moment of national emergency. Stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives. Thank you all very much, and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.